Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. The bright lights of the quiz show studio faded into the dim comfort of Mark Labbett's dressing room. Applause still echoed faintly down the corridor, but inside the small space, Mark sat alone, slowly pulling off his cufflinks. He was the beast to millions, feared, brilliant, unstoppable. But in that quiet moment, he was just Mark, a man with a heavy heart. A year had passed since the split. The silence that now filled his home was louder than any game show buzzer. He'd thrown himself into work, more appearances, more trivia tournaments, even a few book deals. But no amount of public triumph could patch the quiet, personal ache he carried. It wasn't bitterness that weighed him down. It was fear. Fear that he might never find someone who saw past the beast, past the towering intellect and the intimidating persona, and saw him for the soft-spoken man who still smiled at bad puns and cried at rom-coms. Fear that being too much or too different would always put him just out of reach of something lasting. In interviews, he'd smile politely and say, "I'm focusing on myself now." But inside, he wondered, what if the best part of me left when she walked away? Late one evening, Mark sat in a small bookshop cafe in Nottingham, hunched over a latte and a well-worn copy of Les Miserables. It was his favorite hideaway. No cameras, no questions. Just characters who felt as broken and hopeful as he did. That's when he saw her. She was staring at the shelf in the classics section, brow furrowed in decision, debating between Wuthering Heights and Anna Karenina. "Go for Bronte," Mark said, without looking up from his book. The woman turned, smiling. "Heathcliff over Vronsky, huh? Bold choice." "I'm a romantic. I root for doomed love." She laughed, warm and genuine. "I'm Sophie." "Mark," he replied, offering his hand. They spent an hour discussing tragic heroes and whether love really could conquer all. He didn't mention the chase, didn't mention the beast, and for once, he didn't have to prove anything. Over the next few weeks, they met again and again, sometimes for coffee, sometimes to wander through old bookstores, sometimes just to sit in silence at the park. She never flinched when people recognized him. She never asked about the tabloids. She simply asked about him, his favorite meals, his worst quiz losses, the song that always made him cry. "I've read about you," Sophie said, once, gently, "but I like this version of you better." Mark didn't respond right away. That old fear clawed its way up again. The fear of losing, of being not enough, or maybe too much. "I'm not easy," he finally said. "I overthink everything, I'm awkward. I have days when I feel completely lost." Sophie took his hand, her eyes unwavering. "So do I. But I think being lost is easier when you're not doing it alone." One rainy evening, months later, Mark stood backstage before a live show. The buzz of the audience filtered through the curtain, but instead of nerves, he felt calm. In his jacket pocket was a small dog-eared note, the first one Sophie had written him. "You're more than a quiz genius. You're a kind heart with a brilliant mind. Don't ever forget that." He smiled. The beast was ready to face the crowd. But Mark Labbett, the man, was finally ready to open his heart again. And this time, he wasn't afraid.